If you're Malaysian, remember that song, the one that goes,
Merah mubara, semangat wajah, putihmu bersih, budi pekerti, kuning berdaulat, bayu negara, biru perpaduan kami semua. Everyone makes mistakes in this world, but there are just some mistakes that you just don't want to make. And that's exactly the kind of mistake that both Hsinchu Jitpo and Kwong Jitpo did when they published pictures to commemorate Xi Jinping's first state visit in 12 years to Malaysia. Right now,
as of the time of recording,
after being invited here by Sultan Ibrahim Si, is flying off to Cambodia after signing 31 MOUs with Malaysia, listening to a Siti Nurhaliza performance. I hope you had a wonderful time. No selfie this time, but I look forward to meeting you in the future. But now, things have escalated. The very same Sultan Ibrahim has now issued a national reprimand to Xingzhou Ribao. The Home Ministry has issued a show-cause letter, and more than 13 police reports have been made, and I'm sure that more are coming in right now. Basically, when Hsinchu and Kwong published articles, they included some pictures of the flag, and in those pictures, there was something very clearly missing.
And for Hsinchu at least, the editor and sub-editor got suspended, detained, and released on bail.
Now, if you were like me at the start, you were probably thinking, so serious wow, why is even the Agong scolding them? Why is the whole ministry launching a probe and everything like that? But you see, Sepupus, to understand that, let's remember what everything here represents. From a song, I already told you the meanings of the different colors right here. Red means passion and spirit for our country. White means the purity of every single state. Blue means national harmony. But the most important of all these is the yellow star and the yellow moon. The yellow color means the color of kings, the sovereignty of our country. And it's here I think that the real sensitivity comes in. So the yellow star basically represents the Bintang Persekutuan, and each point basically represents a state of Malaysia. But the really big one is actually this one over here, which is the moon. So the moon represents Islam, the religion of the Federation. So if you're taking away the yellow colored moon from your picture, you're basically saying that, hey look, we're gonna take away the sovereignty of Islam in our country. If you're a citizen of Malaysia and you're thinking that, this is not so serious, just understand that the message that this carries is actually really freaking significant.
I mean, for one thing, it's literally the religion of the Federation, and Malays are defined constitutionally as being Muslims. So yeah, it's like you're taking away the entire essence of this country.
You could say, how can Hsinchu Jitpo and Kwong do such a thing? If you think about the optics here, it's like you have literally two of the most famous and well-established Chinese newspapers in the entirety of Malaysia with the highest readership, sending out a message that basically takes away the sovereignty of the religion of the Federation and normalizes it widely. I think most of us know that Malaysia is a pretty divided society. You already have people going around and questioning the loyalties of people who are living in this country, often for malicious purposes and not even when they're actually offended. So if you're living in a society where there's already this pre-existing distrust, right, you can actually understand very clearly why people were terasa. I mean, we can and should ask the question who was in charge of the publication? Who was in charge of the QC? Such a large organization, so many different people in charge of everything along the way, and you didn't notice the problems with the flag when problems like these have already occurred over and over again in separate situations. Hsinchu, Kwong, even if you didn't have malicious intentions, you should have known better. Make no mistake, and I'm saying this as a member of the Chinese community, this is unacceptable. And by doing this, whether intentionally or unintentionally, Hsinchu and Kwong have insulted the very foundation of this country, and I'm not surprised that people are protesting. Malay friends, friends of all races and religions around Malaysia, your feelings are valid. This was a disaster. It's all on Hsinchu and Kwong, and we cannot just let it go with a minta maaf just settle. But having said this, I want to talk about whether it was intentional. Now, some people would say,
this is intentional, normalization, any number of conspiracy theories they come up with in their heads. And yes, it matters.
Now, most people, if you actually look at the pictures that were put into the newspapers, you can kind of see what happened. Because it looks like classic AI slop gone wrong with no proof editing.
But still, some other people say,
AI also, you have to prompt it in a certain way to get the results so your intentions come out. But in my opinion, I think that that's kind of wrong right there, and I'll prove it to you. Alright, so now we're going to use Midjourney to generate a couple of images right here. I have this prompt right here that is basically two boats sailing side by side on a beautiful river representing the tides of history. On the left boat there is a Malaysian flag with the flag accurately represented, and on the right boat there is a Chinese flag accurately represented. Now this kind of matches with the statement that Xi Jinping kind of released prior to this trip right here, which kind of gives you a bit of context about what was actually happening along the way and also why they decided to use a ship to kind of represent this trip right here. Anyway, yeah, may the ship of China, Malaysia, friendship, not flag drama, bring us towards an even brighter future. Anyway, so let's see what we get. Now, think about it, right? If we're right in saying that there was something intentional about the way the newspapers were actually coming out with the flag, then that must mean that they basically wrote in something specific and also intentional in order to undermine the sovereignty of the flag along the way. But as you can see right here, I just put in yeah, like two boats sailing side by side, etc. And let's see what we get. Oh wow, okay. First picture right here. Okay, I can kind of see like the Chinese flag right here, but there is no Malaysian flag, unfortunately. And the next one right here, what the hell is this? There is no Malay. Apparently we only have 5 states. No crescent moon. Okay, great. We are seeing that even though we put in a specific request for the Malaysian flag to be accurately created, it has come out with a whole bunch of things that just don't make sense. But like, you see, the thing is, like, you could argue that even if that is true, we could go ahead and actually make it proper by putting in the correct prompt. Come on, make it better. And we can write in stuff like with a 14-point star and a crescent moon in yellow, and on the right boat there is a Chinese flag accurately represented. Alright, let's see what we can get here. Maybe it's gonna be a bit better. Let's see. Alright, it is being created, and it looks like the answer is no. As you can see, what is this, like America? Maybe this? Yeah, no, it, as you can see, doesn't work. So what do we see from that? We see that even if you try to get a super good prompt, in order to make an image right there, if you use AI, it's more likely than not going to give you the right result. Of course, you can argue that maybe Hsinchu and also Kwong should have done better checks right here.
Or just use a human artist.
But at the end of the day, I think it's totally possible that like they were just like those old uncles fascinated by the technology and everything that it can bring out right there, that they just didn't really think about what would happen if they actually ended up using those AI generated images. And yeah, sure, like you can come up with like some pretty beautiful results. And I think that that's very captivating for a lot of people, because using AI really does take away the barriers to creating something that you feel is just really interesting and beautiful. Of course, that's not an excuse, because when it comes to the national flag and symbols like these right here, getting them correct is crucial, especially when you're talking about distributing media to potentially millions of people who are going to be reading your words. I know that people like P. Ramasamy think that, oh, you should move on.
Accept the apology, no further action.
I disagree. I think that there definitely needs to be punishment which matches with the severity of what's going on here.
Or at least clear assurance and action to make sure that this won't ever happen again.
Because we do live in a multiracial, multi-religious society. It is a fact that many people in Malaysia actually do value this symbol and they see it as part of their identity. You can't just challenge that without any issues right here. I mean, the Malaysian government had already fined Era FM 250,000 ringgit, and I think that it can do the same, if not more, to Hsinchu Jitpo. We can't let people get away with this kind of shoddy journalism, lack of attention to detail, and no oversight from the editors on our Chinese newspapers, because that is not the level of quality that we should accept from our national news media. Having said that though, whether this is fair or it's unfair, it gives ammunition, right, to all of those people out there who really genuinely just don't like Chinese people and will use it alongside the illegal temple, the durian issue, and so many other things out there to discriminate against Chinese people or people of other races. I hope that irresponsible parties won't use this, although I'm pretty sure that they will, in order to question the loyalty of specific communities in this country, because that seems to be the direction that this country is going in at the moment. I think it's a bad development, and hope that even as our royalty and our different ministries bring the perpetrators to task, that they can also serve an important unifying role in our country, even as we move forward with this mistake. Sometimes mistakes can be honestly made.
But of course,
it doesn't give us the right to go out there and continue with the fitnah ma'af type culture. I hope that justice will be done. Either way, I don't know how the investigation's going to go, but hopefully we'll get justice sooner rather than later. In any case, this cannot be something that we repeat over and over again, because mocking the flag one time is already one time too many. And if Sinchu and Kwong pay the fine and then they keep on repeating this behavior, then it's just going to create more ammunition for people to take the opportunity to use racism. The fact is that it's not just one particular community, it's not the Malays, not the Indians who have to watch themselves, but I think that as a member of the Chinese community, not the representative of the Chinese community, I feel that it is important for us to be able to watch ourselves and also see how we can play a part in the multiracial and diverse community that is Malaysia, doing our very best along the way. Sinchu and Kwong Wah, I hope that your licenses aren't going to be revoked, but rather this is the beginning of a new, more self-aware and higher quality media age where you don't do something like this ever again. Alright, that's all I have to say about that, and bye.